Only 3 games in the NBA tonight, and we're going to go through all of them. And we start in Chicago, where Anthony Edwards putting on a show in the house that MJ built. The Bulls lost last night in Dallas without Zach LaVine, looking to bounce back at home, but early on, AntMan's setting the tone. The Bulls may not be having a very good season, but one player who is having a good season for them, Nikola Vucevic. Vooch has the Bulls off to a good start. Bulls up by 8 end of the first quarter. Edwards in that isolation bubble against Dalen Terry. Second quarter, Bulls up by 9 and charging ahead. Kobe White for 3. Bulls up by 11 end of the first half. What happened to this number 1 ranked Minnesota defense? Third quarter, the Bulls continuing to carve apart this Wolves defense. Vucci Main with the 2, now Vucci Main from downtown. And I don't think they got the memo because moments later, how are you not guarding that man? What we've seen from this man so far this season looks like what he looked like in Orlando, and it looks like he can help a contender. Vooch going to work, Bulls up by 6, Anthony Edwards bringing them back. 1-point game, 7 minutes to go, and the Wolves taking the lead behind Julius Randle. Now they're up by 4, and AntMan sensing the moment. He's shooting a lot more threes this season, but he's still getting to the cup whenever he wants. There he goes with the left. The Bulls look like they had this game in the first half and in the third quarter, but they gave up 45 points in the fourth, and AntMan closes them out. 33, 8, and 6 for Ant, and 5 for 9 again from 3-point land. And in case you need more context on what kind of historic pace Anthony Edwards is on, this is the list of 45% from 3 on 10 or more attempts through 8 games of a season. Steph Curry, Steph Curry, Steph Curry, and this year's Anthony Edwards. Next up, it's the 1-6 Jazz versus the 1-6 Bucks, and the Bucks making a change to their starting lineup. Inserted Andre Jackson Jr. into their starting lineup, and right away it's paying dividends. Dame to Ajax for the layup. Still in the first quarter for an early season game, this is as close to a must-win as you will see. Dame again on defense, and then Ajax to Giannis. Bucks look like they might run away with it in the first quarter, but in the second, here comes Lauri Markkanen and the Jazz. For as tough of an early season as it's been for the Utah Jazz, one of their bright spots, John Collins. All of a sudden, you blink, the Jazz are up by 7, and Lauri Markkanen for 3, and it's a 10-point game. Into the first half, Bucks down by 1, clock winding down, Keontae George for 3. So now the Bucks gotta buckle in and get to work in this third quarter, and get to work they did. Milwaukee up by 1, 5 minutes to go in the third, it's Dame and Giannis. Bucks starting to take control, up by 7, Giannis, they dare him to shoot in the mid-range, and he hits. Now there is that man again, Ajax causing havoc, getting the steal, and Giannis in transition. That kind of stuff can be contagious, and tonight it was. Dame the steal to Bobby. And then in the fourth quarter, it wasn't just Ajax. AJ Green giving them a boost off the bench. The Bucks finally snapped their 6-game losing streak, winning 115-91. Dame again, 34, 7, and 4. He's been magnificent this past week. And Giannis, 31, 16, and 2. And last but not least, in San Antonio tonight, Spurs and Blazers, and according to Shams, there's optimism for the Spurs that Devin Vassell will make his season debut on Saturday. He's such an important piece for them. Spurs coming off getting blown out in Houston, looking to bounce back versus Portland, who's coming off a win against the Pelicans, and early on signs of defense from San Antonio. Mentioned Devin Vassell coming back for the Spurs. For the Blazers, the first game of the season for Shaedon Sharpe off the bench, his first basket of the year. Spurs up by 8, end of the first quarter, it's Wemby time, pulling up for 3, going to his right. Wemby doing his thing on the other end, here comes Scoot Henderson. Before they were drafted, this looked like a must-see TV type of game. Midway through the third quarter, Spurs up by 4, Chris Paul's first points of the night. Now in the fourth, Blazers down by 12, looking to rally. Scoot Henderson no good, but Shaedon Sharpe the putback. Sharpe got that one over Wemby, but this time they're not going over Wemby. Wemby with the rejection. Spurs up by 9 midway through the fourth, and it was a big night for the Spurs bench, Blake Wesley. And then down the stretch, the Spurs young guys taking them home. Chris Paul was brought on as a mentor for Castle. That looked like a CP3 mid-range. Spurs get the win 118-105. Check out the balance from this team tonight scoring-wise. After the game, the 2 UConn rookies doing a jersey exchange, Stephon Castle and Donovan Clingan. Some other NBA news we have to cover before we leave today. Tyrese Maxey expected to miss a couple of weeks with a right hamstring injury. For a team that's 1-6 and just got back Paul George, this is the worst timing possible. The Sixers, I'm not just pressing the panic button at this point. I think I'm going to smash the panic button. The Also got some expected news for Bronny James. He's being assigned to the South Bay Lakers where he's expected to debut against Salt Lake City on Saturday. Important thing to note here is it says James will play only home games for South Bay, moving between the G League and NBA as seen fit. Our first standings update before we end for the night. Cleveland and Boston starting to run away already in the East. And in the West, a 3-team race for the number 1 seed. Obviously, it's very early. This conference is going to be the most chaotic I think we've seen in a long time. By the way, tomorrow we're back at it with 13 games, including a matchup I cannot wait for. The undefeated on-the-road Golden State Warriors going into Cleveland to play the undefeated Cleveland Cavaliers.